Welcome to 15-Minute Battles, where we demolish history's biggest conflicts in just 15 minutes. We dive deep into the world's most pivotal military clashes, from the ancient battlefields of Marathon to the complex strategies of modern warfare. The leaders, who were the legendary generals and forgotten heroes commanding the troops, and finally, the outcomes. If you love history, military strategy, and learning something new quickly, you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another historic clash.
In 334 BCE, a young king stood on the edge of Europe, staring across a narrow strait of water into Asia. His name was Alexander, and he was about to launch one of the most audacious military campaigns in history. His father, Philip II of Macedon, had dreamed of this moment of uniting the Greeks to take revenge on the colossal Persian Empire. But Philip was gone, assassinated, and now the dream rested on the shoulders of his 25-year-old son. With an army that was disciplined but dwarfed by the sheer scale of the enemy, Alexander crossed the Hellespont. This wasn't just an invasion. It was what the Greeks called the Great Enterprise, a quest for glory, revenge, and the conquest of the known world. The Persians, rulers of an empire stretching from Egypt to India, didn't panic. The local governors, the satraps of Asia Minor, saw this not as an existential threat, but as a regional problem. They gathered their forces, confident in their numbers and their elite cavalry. They would meet this upstart Macedonian king at a small river called the Granicus and send him back to where he came from. The stage was set for the first great clash between Alexander and the Persian Empire, a battle that would define the opening act of his legendary conquest. Let's look at the army squaring off. On one side, you have the Persian force, a vibrant multi-ethnic army of around 20,000 men. Their primary strength was their heavy cavalry, nobles clad in armor, positioned right on the riverbank, ready to cut down anyone who dared to cross. And behind them, a solid, professional corps, thousands of Greek mercenary These were battle-hardened Greek soldiers fighting for Persian gold, considered by many to be the best infantry in the world. The Persian commanders, men like Arsaces and Spithridates, were confident this combination of elite horsemen and steady infantry would be more than enough. On the other side stood Alexander's Macedonians, roughly equal in number but a completely different kind of fighting force. This was a combined arms machine, perfected by his father Philip. At its heart was the Macedonian phalanx, a dense formation of infantry wielding the sarissa, a formidable pike nearly 18 feet long. This bristling wall of spear points was almost unbreakable from the front, but the true striking power came from the companion cavalry, the elite heavy horsemen of Macedon. And leading them from the front, on the right flank, as was his custom, was Alexander himself, a king who didn't just command, but fought alongside his men. The battlefield itself was a challenge. The Granicus River wasn't wide, but its banks were steep and muddy. The Persian commanders chose their ground well, deploying their army along the high western bank. This gave them a powerful defensive advantage. Any attacker would have to struggle up a slippery, exposed slope, right into the lances of their waiting cavalry. It was a solid plan, a classic defensive posture designed to break an enemy charge before it could even begin. But they made one critical, catastrophic error. They placed their best asset, their cavalry, right at the water's edge, and kept their superb Greek mercenary infantry in reserve, far behind the action. They intended to win the battle with a cavalry clash on the riverbank. When Alexander's army arrived late in the afternoon, his most experienced general, Parmenion, took one look at the situation and advised caution. "Wait for dawn," he said. "Cross the river unopposed upstream and fight on level ground tomorrow." Alexander would have none of it. He saw the Persian mistake, he saw his opportunity. Against all conventional wisdom, he ordered an immediate attack. The battle began not with a full-scale assault, but with a probing action. Alexander sent a squadron of light cavalry and infantry across the river to test the Persian line. As expected, they were met with a furious response. The Persians, seeing this small force struggle up the muddy bank, surged forward to crush them. This was the moment Alexander had been waiting for. The Persian line was now disorganized, focused entirely on the small skirmish. Then, he made his move. In one of the most famous charges in military history, Alexander personally led the elite companion cavalry straight into the river. This wasn't a cautious advance, it wasn't a loud, thunderous assault aimed directly at the heart of the Persian left flank. The crossing was a scene of utter chaos. Horses slipped on slick rocks, men struggled for footing in the churning, muddy water, all while a hail of javelins rained down from the bank above. As they clawed their way up the steep embankment, the Macedonians slammed into the Persian cavalry. The fight became a brutal close-quarters melee. Lances shattered, swords rang against shields, and men and horses crashed to the ground. In the swirling chaos, Alexander was everywhere, a whirlwind of violence, fighting at the very front of the charge. He was a prime target. A Persian nobleman, Spithridates, broke through and swung his scimitar down at the king's head. Alexander's helmet was sheared in two, but before the Persian could land a killing blow, One of Alexander's officers, Cletus the Black, galloped in and severed Spithrodus's arm, saving his king's life. Alexander, undeterred, pressed the attack with furious intensity. The sheer ferocity of the Macedonian charge, spearheaded by their king, was too much for the Persian cavalry. The individual bravery of the Persian nobles was no match for the disciplined, wedge formation assault of the companions. The Persian line, which had seemed so strong just moments before, began to waver, then buckle, and finally, it shattered completely. Seeing their leaders fall and their comrades routed, the Persian cavalry broke and fled the field in a full-blown panic. The satraps who had been so confident of victory were now galloping for their lives. But the battle wasn't over. Left standing alone on the plain were the thousands of Greek mercenaries. They had been spectators to the entire cavalry fight, their commanders having made the fatal error of keeping them out of the action. Now, their employers were gone. The battle was lost, and they were completely surrounded by the victorious Macedonian army. They formed up their phalanx, a block of disciplined professionals, and sent a request for terms, hoping for mercy from a fellow Greek. They would receive none. To Alexander, these men were not honorable opponents. They were traitors. They were Greeks who had sold their swords to the barbarian enemy, the very people the Hellenic League had been formed to fight. His response was chilling and absolute. He reformed his own lines and ordered the Macedonian phalanx to advance. The mercenaries, stranded and hopeless, braced for the impact. What followed was not a battle, but a systematic execution. The long ceresis of the Macedonian phalanx outreached the mercenaries' shortest spears, and the hoplites were methodically cut down, rank by rank. It was a brutal, merciless slaughter. Of the thousands of mercenaries, nearly all were killed, with a few survivors sent back to Greece in chains to work in the mines. A grim warning to any other Greek who might consider fighting for Persia. The Battle of the Granicus was a stunning and total victory for Alexander. With a single audacious charge, he had destroyed the Persian army in Asia Minor and broken the power of the local satraps. The entire western coast of the Persian Empire, with its wealthy Greek cities, now lay open to him. The captured Persian treasury provided the funds he desperately needed to continue his campaign. But the most important consequence was the legend it created. News of the battle spread like wildfire. This young king wasn't just a strategist, he was a warrior who led from the front, defied death, and achieved the impossible. Granicus established his reputation as a commander of terrifying genius and reckless bravery. It secured his foothold in Asia, giving him the strategic momentum to push ever deeper into the heart of the Persian Empire. The battle on that small riverbank was the first step on a journey that would see Alexander the Great carve out one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, forever changing the course of history.
And that wraps up today's 15-minute battle. If you want to master more moments of military history in less time, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next 15-minute battle.